until you've earned the right in the heat of competition. Today, we write a new chapter in the history of bass fishing. Today, a new competition is born where there is no cash prize.
These guys are so competitive. They're pumped up. They're ready to go.
An event that features hard-nosed head-to-head competition among the best anglers from around the globe.
Anything can happen. I mean, we're talking ounces. So we'll see how it goes.
The Citgo Bassmaster Tournament Trail is presented by Busch.
Welcome. Thanks for making it for the start of a brand new year here on the Citgo Bassmaster Tournament Trail. I'm Tommy Sanders. We're glad you're here. We're going to get things started this year with something completely different, something brand new that has never been done before, an international tournament, team fishing with the top-rated competitors in the world. The International Bass Cup, it's in the tradition of other world team competitions like the Davis Cup in tennis, golf's Ryder Cup. But again, what makes this one really unique is the caliber of anglers we will see in action today. Today, the first day of competition, doubles action, if you will. Each team fielding 3 boats, each with 2 same-team competitors in the boat. Here are the matchups. Kevin Van Dam and Tim Horton of the USA versus Gary Yamamoto, he's the international team captain, and Juan Arnal of Spain. Jerry Euste of Zimbabwe and Lionel Botha of South Africa against Mark Davis and Jay Yellis, and Denny Brower, Davey Hyde, that team taking on Takahiro Omori of Japan and Sergio Longas of Spain. Each match worth 2 points, so a total of 6 points are available today for each one of the teams. And it's so nice to start the year out with a guy who knows everything about bass fishing. He's certainly got it all in perspective. Jerry McInnes is going to show us where we're fishing.
Well, I'm not sure about all that, but I am sure that we got a great place to kick this off at. We're over in eastern Arkansas near Stuttgart, and a great little place called the Wildlife Farms. Perfect setting for this because we got about, I'd say 150 acres of water split up amongst 3 oxbows that are obviously connected, and the #1 United States team and the #1 international team will start right here at Mallard Lake. The #2s will start at Cypress, and the #3 teams will start at Luckett. Matter of fact, Luckett is where everybody starts to get to their lakes, and they're going to fish in each one of these oxbows for approximately 2.5 hours and then rotate. When it's all said and done, everybody will fish in each lake for 2.5 hours. Before I hand it back to Tommy, I did want to say that we're going to be talking about the tour events that will start here in a couple weeks, and I think this season's tour events are probably the most important ever in professional bass fishing. Sean Grigsby is going to come along and help me out with that. But Tommy, for right now, we're talking International Cup so take it away.
Yeah, looking forward to talking to Sean. We're just about ready to start fishing. Quickly, we're going to kick it over to Tournament Director Trip Weldon. He's going to complete our rules setup for us.
There's one more little interesting twist. The tackle box. Each angler will be allowed 1 tackle box.
No.
1 tackle box.
No way.
For both days.
You mean we can refill it after the first night?
Oh, no. Oh, no. 1 tackle box, both days.
I've got a plug that won't fit in that box.
Oh, yeah. Well,
we got bigger baits than that.
We have sharp knives. You can whittle them down. Here are your boxes.
Thank you. Better deal there, Trip.
And listen closely, gentlemen. All lures, hooks, lead, etc. must be stored in this box. It has to close.
Good luck, guys. Leave the big ones for us.
6 boats making their way down the trails through the system to their first fishing spots, each having had 1 day of practice.
Guys, you're gonna catch 3 big fish. I'm gonna catch 2 big fish.
And you too. Maybe you too.
Oh yeah, they're going down. We're going to do a little trash talking out there.
A lot more confidence in what
Denny having a little fun trying to keep it light. He wasn't trash talking last night at the team meeting. Denny is the captain of this group. He's very serious about this competition.
Section here, and I think it's a very good section. I don't know how good it's going to be right off the morning, I think the bite's going to get better on each of these holes as the day progresses. So,
and I don't know where you started, but Jerry.
That's the international captain, Gary Yamamoto, also rallying his troops in hopes of what would certainly be considered an upset if they could pull off a win here.
But like you said, in the morning, you know, we just caught the little fish and it was slow.
We are so close to getting our new season underway.
Good luck for everybody.
The Citgo Bassmaster Tournament Trail is brought to you by Citgo, by Bush, and by Skeeter.
The very first International Bass Cup competition is now underway. Our two teams going at it in Mallard Lake, Brower and Hite versus Omori and Longus, and there's a first score for the Americans.
And they are on the best lake. I think of the three lakes, Mallard is probably top, and they've had one day of practice here, so they kind of know where the fish are. And Takahiro is right behind Davey and Denny. They can almost hit each other with a cast to begin with. Look at Davey. He's even watching to make sure they didn't do something he doesn't know about. But they have one day of practice.
I don't want to get going.
They know where their fish are at.
First blood for the Americans, so they lead by 2 pounds in the first match of the day. The USA with the first lead of this competition.
And I really look for them to fish lures that will cover a lot of ground. They're going to move along pretty quickly. They're actually going to throw spinner baits and crank baits and try to take the cream off the top. They're actually fishing for easy fish, Tommy. I think a little bit later in the day, after the water's been pounded by the other competitors, they'll start fishing with jigs and try to fish up and down. And boy, there's a lot at stake here in there.
A lot of heavy breathing. The Americans getting off to a quick start here. 4-pound lead.
you put that one in, you caught it on the left?
On the driver's side.
Yeah, that's where I put that one. We'll put our big ones on the other side.
Good job, DB.
Well, let's just start.
Sergio, you can come up here.
Okay. They got the first one with the spinner.
Don't matter. Don't worry about them.
Sergio Longus cannot contain himself. He's watching Denny and Davey just across the way. They're trying to tell Taki about it. Takahiro says, don't worry about it.
Takehiro's worried about it too, though.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, you know what? They're doing exactly what I said they wouldn't do, and that's start flipping jigs right off the bat. Denny and Davey are throwing spinner baits. Takahiro is already dropping jigs down in that brush. And one of the reasons why this Lake Mallard is a little bit better than the others because it does have so much brush in it.
I played demo derby with a couple of logs.
There you go.
Come here, dog.
Is he on anything? Kind of out.
And now he's just out in the middle of nowhere.
All right, the Americans keeping their cushion over Omori and Longus.
And when we get to some of the other lakes, Tommy, you're going to see some of the most beautiful cypress you've ever seen in your life. But Mallard has more brush laying in the water.
Very good, Takahiro. This is a good one.
Omori and Longus, 3 pounds now. They're still trailing by a good bit, almost 3 pounds.
On the base of the tree.
Yeah. A stuff like that. See, just like this one, same.
The same.
Yeah, just base of the tree. So you have to go into the fish. They not come out to eat. So you have to bring your bait. See? Oh, yeah.
There's one. Here.
Let me see. Go get the small one, the number 2.
The number 2?
Yeah.
Omori and Longus with a lot of keepers there. That's what's keeping them in it. Let's go over to Cypress Lake right now. Jerry Eustace of Zimbabwe, Lionel both of South Africa against these two guys right here, Mark Davis and Jay Yellis.
And who are these two guys, Tommy? Just a couple of classic champions.
There's a lot of them running around here this week.
And that may be the most interesting story we've got going on here. Two great fishermen in the same boat together with the same goal. And you know, they've fished in the same boat before, but never as a team. They have to figure out which guy is going to fish this piece of the brush, which guy is going to fish this lure, and make that work.
Good when he's gurgling up in there.
I'm going to put him over here, Jay.
Okay.
The Americans taking a small lead here at this point. The USA leading 2 matches right now, of course. Now, they're going to fish 2.5 hours in this spot. There are 2 points available in each match. They'll change spots every 2.5 hours.
And this international boat has got to see their opponents, which is, as we said, 2 classic champions right behind them at all times. Hey, you know what, though? I don't seem to be bothering these guys. And there sure is a lot of interest on which side of the boat to put your fish, which live well to put him in. I'll tell you why. They're going to catch 5 fish. They're going to be culling. They're going to be turning their small fish loose very quickly here. And they want to know what live well the little one's in, where it's easy to get rid of him.
Both have snagged that one out of the air.
Boy, he did.
Hit the water and he got the fish.
Well, you know what? That kind of tells you that the fish are pretty near the surface. The second that jig hit the water, before it ever got to the bottom, he had that fish on there. Probably could have caught that fish on a spinner bait, but a jig will catch him just as easy.
Well, it did the job. It's tit for tat here. Team International now takes the lead in this match.
This bait's really in the shallows this morning. Just needed to grow by another 2 or 3 pounds, then we'll really be happy.
Yeah, then I would have been happy. This brush hook starting to look a sorry sight. We just keep going.
You'll have to use that thing until it's really finished.
He was sitting in the top of that tree, eh?
Took it right away, eh?
Right away. Right away.
Kind of strange seeing both guys in the front of the boat in a normal tournament situation. That wouldn't necessarily be the way that they would do it.
Boy, you're right, but look at these 2 South Africans. They're doing a great job of it. It's almost like there's one fisherman up there with 2 rods, and remember, they have to put 5 fish in the boat as a team, any way they can get them in there.
The other thing that we could do that I think would be wise is if we get a stretch we want to fish right back through, let the other guy run the trolling motor through there. Might fish a little different.
Fish a little different.
Yeah, just a little bit different.
Yeah. That's
if we decide to do that sometime during the day.
Now, what do they mean by that?
Well, you change the guy up there on that trolling motor, you're going to change the speed of the boat. And when you change the speed of the boat, then you also normally change the speed of your lure or the depth of your lure, and that gives a completely different look to the fish.
You fished in Zimbabwe. Have they ever seen water like this before?
You know they've probably never seen a cypress tree like this, but these 2 guys sure seem to be doing a good job of it.
When you get a bite in Zimbabwe, you make sure you hold on to that rod. They're not small.
You don't fish as much shallow water in Zimbabwe as you do here. You sort of fish the sort of mid-depths, you know. It seems like in Zimbabwe you catch fish from 12 foot to 3 foot, 4 foot. That's where you generally catch them. Where, you know, it's seldom where you'll go and catch fish in a foot or 2 like this.
Well, we haven't seen all of the pros in action just yet, but you can be darn sure they are all proceeding with precision, absolutely executing flawlessly.
We suck right now. We're doing terrible.
Okay, they're ready for the bigger one now.
International Bass Cup competition continues here near the White River in Arkansas. That's one of our 3 venues there. That is Mallard Lake. A lot of fish catching going on there. There's the score from Mallard Lake. The team of Brower and Height up by 1 pound over Omori and Longest. On Cypress Lake, here's the situation over there. Botha and Eusta over Davis and Yellis. And over at Luckett Lake, Van Dam and Horton with the slim lead over Yamamoto and Arnold. But these are 2 slim leads that are held by the American teams. Yet the score right now 2-1 United States. The thing to keep in mind, though, that none of these teams are separated by more than 1 fish.
We're watching Juan Arnell try to stay close to the competition. He's competing against Kevin Van Dam and Timmy Horton, and I believe that's his team's 4th fish, up close to 6 pounds. We'll see Timmy and Kevin in just a little bit. But first of all, I brought in some help, man. I brought in Shaw Grigsby, one of the real superstars of our sport in Shaw. It is such a pleasure to have you with us.
It's great to be here, Jerry.
And you know the tackle box situation, right?
That's a tough deal. I mean, 1 box for 2 days?
1 box, 2 days. Fill it up, and if you run out, you're out of luck.
If my box was this big, I might do that.
I've got the two captains, Denny Breyer and Gary Yamamoto were the captains, and I've got their boxes right here. We're going to open up Denny's. What are you guessing is going to be in here?
Jigs, and a lot of jigs.
I bet you're right.
Oh,
I would say 3/4 of that pertains to jig fishing.
A couple spinner baits for, you know, just for, I guess, probably defensive, but look at the blades. Big blades, you know, something that they can see.
Handful of crankbaits, again, knowing Denny, probably defensive, a defensive move, but then you get
the majority
jigs.
of them. And that's crawfish, basically a crawfish colored, you know, Denny Breyer Pro Model jig right there.
And the trailers right here.
All the trailers. So basically, you've talked the whole box is jigs.
Shaw, look at, you know, just take a glance at that color scheme. It's all green, isn't it?
He wants something that's very visual, that can be seen. And of course, a lot of crawfish are that greenish, but they're more of the olive type green color.
Okay, we'll kind of push that to the side here, and we'll get Gary Yamamoto's. And you can kind of guess what's going to be in it. There's going to be some Cincos in it, don't you imagine?
Now, this is unique. This is a new one.
I thought that was a little bit unusual myself, and especially that color. But again, Gary's fishing with the greens. A new skirt for his spinner baits. He has no spinner. Oh, there they are. A couple of spinner baits for Gary.
A couple jigs. So he's very, very rounded, but you know he's going to stick with his strong suit, which is soft plastics, and that Cinco style bait is going to be his key.
Hey, Shaw, you know, it's almost misleading when you watch the footage and you see these guys pitching baits over against these trees, and it looks like that maybe they're just fishing by the side of the tree. But this country is full of cypress roots and knees. And that's what these guys are fishing in.
Yeah, that's such a great southern type of fishery. And what happens is that root system actually grows out away from the tree and sprouts these knees. So it's part of the root system. The fish love it. And so now you've got all these roots down there, and they really get this, it's almost like a hair type situation. The roots are kind of filamentous and going all back in there. The fish will hide in the knees. It's a great area to fish.
So you see a guy pitching 5 feet away from the cypress, and you might think, my gosh, why didn't he get in close to that tree? He's in a lot of cover out there.
Load of roots and those cypress knees that stick up.
Hey, what about the situation where you have, and maybe you've been in this situation, maybe not, where you're with a high-powered partner, and the two of you are not competing against each other, you've joined forces and you are a team. How about that?
That's a great situation because you really have a good time at that point. Instead of competing against each other, you're working, you know, with each other, trying to make the best of that situation. You know, sometimes you may have a situation where one guy, you know, like if you put these two together, you know, Denny wants to pitch a jig, you know, and Gary may want to do something else.
Yeah,
so,
and you know, we're looking at the perfect example right there. Kevin Van Dam, almost Kevin and anybody would clash a little bit, wouldn't they?
He's a speed fisherman, but actually I've had a great time fishing with Kevin, but he's a great angler, but he is a speed fisherman, but you can use that to your strength. You let one stay up front, the fast angler, put him up front, put him in that power position, and then the other guy get in behind him, maybe pitch a jig, pitch a worm, pitch a slow bait in behind him, and the two work it out.
And of course, Shaw, they're kind of lucky right here in that they're fishing shallow water. So that guy that's flipping a tube or a jig only has to let it drop 2 feet and it'll hit the bottom and pick it right back up. I think if he was flipping in 6 feet of water, his bait would never hit the bottom before Kevin was 18 feet. But isn't it fun watching these?
Absolutely.
I mean, no offense to Tim Horton. He's the only one in this group that hasn't won the Classic yet. All he's done is won Angler of the Years and so many events.
It's just a matter of time.
Yeah, he's a great fisherman.
Well, you know, the funny thing about Spain is that we cannot see the ESPN there, but we always find a way to get your videos. You know, for example, my way to get the ESPN videos is I have a friend that is working in the military in Germany. His name is Jim Warren. And you know, he has a PO box, so then he can have the ESPN videos, and we all watch these videos at home, and we learn the techniques from the American fishermen, and we try to emulate them.
So Juan, you steal our best stuff, you go over to Spain, use it against those folks, and bring it back and hit us over the head with it.
Juan is actually ripping off videos. How about that?
Yeah.
Hey, here's a a wreck getting ready to happen, isn't it, Tommy? No, I tell you what, Gary is hung up way ahead of the boat in that brush, and boy, that was a pretty slick move.
He's nimble. I want to ask you, before we move on, what was Shaw talking about needing a spinnerbait for defensive reasons?
He was talking about Denny, yeah, and Denny needed to have a spinnerbait in his box in case Davey started catching him on spinnerbaits, he would be able to use one. That actually happened.
Here's Denny. Oh, no.
Whew, Denny cannot afford to be losing fish that size.
Well, that was their shot at breaking out of the tie. As it stands right now, we have one tie. The Internationals with the lead in one match, USA with the lead in the other. More to come here on the International Bass Cup.
ESPN's Bass View is brought to you by Citgo. The Citgo Bassmaster Tournament Trail is brought to you by Progressive, by Mercury, and by Triton.
Our International Bass Cup competition continues here. Some tight matches. USA in the lead in one. Internationals lead another. The third one is tied. We're going to take you now out to Cypress Lake. The match between Davis and Yellis and the two Africans, Justa and Botha, and the first period's almost over.
2 minutes to rotate. You want to get on up there and get ready to make that long idle, you want to fish?
I'd fish this stuff.
Yeah.
Yes, that's a goodie, Jess. That's a good fish. Yeah, that's a goodie.
Until you've earned the right in the heat of competition. Today we write a new chapter in the history of bass fishing. Today a new competition is born where there is no cash prize.
These guys are so competitive. They're pumped up. They're ready to go.
An event that features hard-nosed head-to-head competition among the best anglers from around the globe.
Anything can happen. I mean, we're talking ounces. So we'll see how it goes.
The Citgo Bassmaster Tournament Trail is presented by Busch.
Welcome. Thanks for making it for the start of a brand new year here on the Citgo Bassmaster Tournament Trail. I'm Tommy Sanders. We're glad you're here. We're going to get things started this year with something completely different, something brand new that has never been done before, an international tournament. Team fishing with the top-rated competitors in the world. The International Bass Cup, it's in the tradition of other world team competitions like the Davis Cup in tennis, golf's Ryder Cup. But again, what makes this one really unique is the caliber of anglers we will see in action today. Today, the first day of competition, doubles action, if you will. Each team fielding 3 boats, each with 2 same-team competitors in the boat. Here are the matchups. Kevin Van Dam and Tim Horton of the USA versus Gary Yamamoto, he's the international team captain, and Juan Arnal of Spain, Jerry Euste of Zimbabwe, and Lionel Botha of South Africa against Mark Davis and Jay Yellis, and Denny Brower, Davey Hyde, that team taking on Takahiro Omori of Japan and Sergio Longas of Spain. Each match worth 2 points, so a total of 6 points are available today for each one of the teams, and it's so nice to start the year out with a guy who knows everything about bass fishing. He's certainly got it all in perspective. Jerry McInnes is going to show us where we're fishing.
Well, I'm not sure about all that.
All right, let's start the second period. We're going to rotate now, each team to the second hole of the day. They're going to get 2.5 hours to start the competition again.
And I think the most unique thing about the whole event is the fact that we have classic champions. 5 out of the 6 U.S. anglers are classic champions, and they are fishing in the boat as a team together. And for the most part, these guys have been fishing jigs with a little trailer, and they catch a lot of fish on crankbaits and spinnerbaits as well. Most of the depths are around, I would say 3 or 4 feet is kind of the special depth. Few fish a little deeper.
Fish started biting about 10 o'clock. Really biting.
Yeah.
Don't you think?
Mark Davis and Jay Yellis have had slow going so far, but now they're in the good hole. They're in Mallard Lake.
There's a good one.
Come here.
He was hooked plenty good. The little one's over there.
Huh?
Here, I'll get it.
I'll get it. I got a fish on my deal here, but I'll get it.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead and fish. So the little one's on this side?
Yes.
Not a bait, eh?
It's a good one. Yeah, that's a good one.
You gonna be all right?
Yeah, I'll be okay.
You be all right?
I don't know. I think he's going to drop one of them, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah, first time I got to the United States fishing my first tournament, I couldn't speak any English, so I had a hard time to communicate with my partner, you know. But that don't matter. I mean, that's small. It's much more important to catch fish.
Yes, it's true. The language is not important.
No, it's kind of like part of the fishing. You know, you have to understand what your partner says, and if you want to get more information from the book and video, and TV show, you got to understand the English. But I found one thing: the fish not speak any English.
Yeah.
They don't speak any Japanese. They speak their own language.
They are the first one fishing here this morning. God, okay. It's good, it's good. It's good, very good, Takahiro.
Yes, sir. Oh, yeah.
Very good. Very good. Very good. It's good, it's a nice fish.
This is the best fish we got so far.
Very good. Very good.
I can tell you what, the fish is much better than Japan. That's sure.
We're going to take you back out to the action at the International Bass Cup in just a moment. Right here, in 2 weeks, though, we begin the Bassmaster Tour 2003. All our anglers will be trying, of course, to make it to the Classic and chasing the Angler of the Year title. It's now the Bush Angler of the Year race, and the stakes have gotten a lot higher. $100,000 to the winner, $20K to the second highest points getter on through 10 places, so that is big. The schedule for the tour, a brand new deal as well, 10 events that begin at the Harris Chain of Lakes in Central Florida and carry on through 5 more: Georgia, Louisiana, Alabama, South Carolina. After 6 events, the field is cut to 100, who head out to 2 new spots for the tour, the San Joaquin River Delta and Clear Lake in California. The field cut again down to 50. Those are the ones who will compete for spots in the Classic at the final 2 events in Arkansas and Alabama. And Jerry, I know our guest here has got his bags packed. He's ready to go. Get a little break on the travel right at the front.
Having the first 2 in Florida is great. It's
nice.
Boy, that whole schedule, though, that's a killer show.
It's going to be fun, though. We got them all stacked in the first 5 months of the year. So, 2 in January, 2 in February, right on through May. I'm excited about it.
We're wanting to make this big, so we got to play some ball games, don't we?
We're playing a lot of them.
Well, I'd like to have you explain a little bit about the 30-day off limits. That's always very controversial. You kind of like it. Explain what it is.
Well, it's a time period there where you can't be on the water. So there's no practicing or anything. You can't be on the water, and it's 30 days from the start of practice. So that's a lot of time. I mean, a whole month. It evens the field, though. I mean, instead of being able to be out there and practice for 3 or 4 weeks straight.
Camp out on the lake.
Right, and get all that advantage, and then somebody like me show up and only be able to practice the 3 days of tournament practice, now it evens the field. So I like it a lot.
You want to make some predictions now?
Ooh, that's a tough one.
We want, and Sanders will be over there writing all this down now. You can count on that. The Harris Chain, what's your call there?
We haven't been there for 10 years. It's a flip of a coin. It could be anybody's game there. It's not going to be as bad a fishing as it was 10 years ago. In fact, it's going to be good fishing. It's turning on pretty good. So who's going to do good?
Okay, all right. You're off the hook. I want a better answer, though, for Toledo Bend.
Toledo, now that's a great one. I tell you, last year we were there, of course, Dean Rojas won it. I'm looking for somebody like Kevin Van Dam and Stacy King did such a great job in the Invitational. I wouldn't be surprised to see him come back and do very, very well there. And the Japanese.
Cody Bird.
Excellent. I mean, here we're going to have a bronc rider in there, just a bull rider in there just wearing us out.
Santee Cooper.
You know what? That's a tremendous lake also, and I think Ray Sedgwick's got the edge there. He lives there, and he loves it, and he's on it a lot.
You didn't say Shaw Grigsby on either one. Well, 3 lakes. You didn't say.
You know, I love Harris Chain. Now, I must admit I love Harris Chain, but I literally have not seen it since the last time we were there in a bass event. So that's a lot of years. That doesn't give me much of an edge anymore.
I tell you what we're going to do. We're going to save you plenty of time because I got a tough question for you coming up in a minute. I'm going to throw this back to Sanders, though, and let him take us back to the action.
Hold on now. We need a 5-pounder. Man, we need to gain something out of it.
All right, Shaw and Jerry. And by the way, my pick for the Harris Chain event is going to be Tim Horton, who is fishing here based on his performance last year at Toho. You guys didn't even talk about the Busch Angler of the Year stats, and we'll get some picks on that a little later, too. Speaking of the Angler of the Year, how about these two right here, both former Anglers of the Year, Kevin Van Dam, Tim Horton, who actually won it his first year on the tour, fishing in Cypress Lake, slight lead over their international counterparts.
Work. Yeah, he'll call
Can you hook up on that too, or was it a fish?
Yeah, it was a fish. It's just awkward setting a hook right here, you know.
There he is. There's a good one. Can we get him?
I got him.
There you go. That's my Timmy there.
That there will.
That's my boy right there.
Yeah.
We were wondering if we could catch one there for a while.
Yeah.
Timmy's on fire. There's one.
Good? Pretty good. Oh, he's barely hooked.
Take your time with it.
Barely hooked. Come on, he's not. That'll help a little bit.
It might help.
Some more poundage for the Americans. Davis and Yellis going up a little bit more against these two guys right here. Both and Houston, the two Africans here.
Yep.
Our former classic champs in the United States, maintaining the slim lead at this point in the competition.
The one we've been waiting for. Well done, Mr. Houston.
Just had him change that bait again.
I have to say again that the competitors are not accustomed to fishing within eyesight of the guy they're fishing against, and Botha and Houston are doing a good job of it, though. I tell you what, Jerry qualified through the Federation in 1997 for the Classic, finished in the top 10. And Lionel was the South African champion in 2002. Matter of fact, he was in the Federation Championship last year on the Red River in Shreveport. So
we'll get rid of some
both
of
these guys are pretty tough anglers.
Think he's going to change something?
Yeah, he'll change it.
He'll change, that's for sure. Hold on.
He'll change that one, I'm sure. There you go. Oh, good. It's 3 off that tree, yeah? Well, now we got a problem.
Quick flurry there puts Botha and Houston back on top, at least temporarily. Gary Yamamoto looking at his watch. Well, he should. We're almost to the end of the second period.
And I tell you what, it looks to me like just about every angler is down to flipping. And most of them are flipping a black and blue jig, but some of them are throwing plastic. Some of them are flipping little tubes.
He has the gun. And up.
Well, ready or not, we are getting ready for the third period. These teams will go to their final fishing spots for the last round of competition. Van Dam and Horton made the biggest move during the second period. Look at them, 2 pounds ahead of their teams in the competition. The other two matches way too close to call. If it ended right now, take a look. 2 points for USA, 2 points for the International, and one that you just can't call at this point. But again, we got one more round to go. Don't you go. In this International Bass Cup competition, the USA, until you've earned the right in the heat of competition. Today we write a new chapter in the history of bass fishing. Today a new competition is born where there is no cash prize.
These guys are so competitive. They're pumped up. They're ready to go.
An event that features hard-nosed head-to-head competition among the best anglers from around the globe.
Anything can happen. I mean, we're talking ounces. So we'll see how it goes.
And we're looking at a couple of classic champions here, Davey Height and Denny Brower, and I think Denny's awful smart throwing a buzzbait, which is a surface lure, and these fish haven't seen that yet.
Get in here.
Good job. That's what we wanted. That'll help us a little bit.
In a little bit, that is going to be enough to put them ahead of the team of Omori and Longus.
Thank you, sir. Good job, partner.
But on the other side of Cyprus, the international team is responding.
Oh, yeah. Come on, help you. Don't. Oh, man. I can't feel it. All right.
Right. Very nice fish.
Yeah, good job. I said I'm gonna help you, so I'm gonna try to get like this, man. You know?
Yeah.
Next time you have a 5-6 pounder, make sure I'm gonna help you.
Okay.
Okay, don't bring into it. Well, in other words,
Okay.
may lose
Good.
it.
All right, Sergio Longus, the two-time Spanish national champ, making things a little frightening for Takahiro, I'm afraid.
That was an evil little laugh there at the end of that one.
That's scary.
Hey, I want to say again that these guys are fishing in water that, first of all, had one full day of practice in them, and then have had a couple of rotations on them. So the fish swimming around here have seen just about every bait. So it's up to these guys to use a little bit different speeds, maybe a little bit different colors, some kind of techniques to try to catch that really tough fish. I said right off the bat,
you might want to look at
Tommy and hole number one early this morning was they were going to catch easy fish. Now they are really fishing for hard fish, and I think this shows the everyday angler, though, that those fish can be caught, even though they have seen a lot of lures during the day.
We just saw Davis and Yellis pulling up even with the two Africans in their match, and now over to Van Dam and Horton.
Boy, the quality of anglers we have seen today is just amazing. And you know what, Tommy? It may be a fact that we haven't said much about it. We've kind of taken it for granted, but we've talked about the international guys a lot. But boy, how about the 6 guys on the USA team?
Well, they're all former Classic winners except for Tim Horton. That says something right there, I think.
Hey, Gary Yamamoto was just throwing at a fish that he saw.
Him sitting under there.
It was almost, and he has.
That's the fish? That's the same fish? Oh, my God.
That is, flipped a little jig over there, and he just jumped on it as it was falling.
I think is a reaction strike off.
And speaking of good fishermen, Tommy, what do you got to say about those two guys?
Oh, man, Van Dam and Horton. Van Dam, of course, 2001 Classic champion after 12 straight appearances in the championship.
He was reeling it in. Yeah, I don't know. We got them all tagged, right?
We don't have but 30 minutes, 45 to go, and we got to have a 4 or 5 pounder to have a chance to win the points for our team today.
We're just having a tough time. We have not had a quality strike. Yesterday, I mean, we had quite a few real good bites, you know.
We know they're in here because we seen them yesterday, and all it takes is for them to have 1 5 or 6 pounder, and we're in trouble.
15 minutes to the end of our day. We better beat that Kevin Van Dam.
Oh, that's a good one. One good one. Good job, Juan.
Thank you.
That will cinch it, I think.
Gary Yamamoto is pumped up, very confident, but look at our unofficial weights. They have this team as being behind by just a little bit. The other two matches, close as well. We're going to do the right thing. We're going to weigh them in. Don't go weigh.
All indications what we saw today, I don't think they caught as many as we did, so unless they were lucky to catch a bunch of good fish, I think we have them. But that's just to be seen once we get there, I guess.
The Citgo Bassmaster Tournament Trail is brought to you by Yamaha, by Citgo, and by Bush.
First day of competition at our International Bass Cup is complete. The teams have arrived back at Wildlife Farms here in Stuttgart, Arkansas. We had some tight matches out there today, but right now we're ready to get those official weights. In fact, the first two teams have weighed in, and Kevin Van Dam, Tim Horton have taken a victory from Gary Yamamoto and Juan Arnell. Fish Fishburne standing by to weigh in the next two teams.
Until you've earned the right in the heat of competition. Today we write a new chapter in the history of bass fishing. Today a new competition is born where there is no cash prize.
These guys are so competitive. They're pumped up. They're ready to go.
An event that features hard-nosed head-to-head competition among the best anglers from around the globe.
Anything can happen. I mean, we're talking ounces. So we'll see how it goes.
The Citgo Bassmaster Tournament Trail is presented by Bush.
Welcome. Thanks for making it for the start of a brand new year here on the Citgo Bassmaster Tournament Trail. I'm Tommy Sanders. We're glad you're here. We're going to get things started this year with something completely different, something brand new that has never been done before, an international tournament, team fishing with the top-rated competitors in the world. The International Bass Cup, it's in the tradition of other world team competitions like the Davis Cup in tennis, golf's Ryder Cup. But again, what makes this one really unique is the caliber of anglers we will see in action today. Today, the first day of competition, doubles action, if you will. Each team fielding 3 boats, each with 2 same-team competitors in the boat. Here are the matchups. Kevin Van Dam and Tim Horton of the USA versus Gary Yamamoto, he's the international team captain, and Juan Arnell of Spain. Jerry Eustace of Zimbabwe and Lionel Botha of South Africa against Mark Davis and Jay Yellis, and Denny Brower, Davey Hyde, that team taking on Takahiro Omori of Japan and Sergio Longas of Spain. Each match worth 2 points, so a total of 6 points are available today for each one of the teams, and it's so nice to start the year out with a guy who knows everything about bass fishing. He's certainly got it all in perspective. Jerry McInnes is going to show us where we're fishing.
Well, I'm not sure about all that, but I am sure that we got a great place to kick this off at. We're over in eastern Arkansas near Stuttgart, and a great little place called the Wildlife Farms. Perfect setting for this because we got about, well, I'd say 150 acres of water split up amongst 3 oxbows that are obviously connected, and the #1 United States team and the #1 international team will start right here at Mallard Lake. The #2s will start at Cypress, and the #3 teams will start at Luckett. Matter of fact, Luckett is where everybody starts to get to their lakes, and they're going to fish in each one of these oxbows for approximately 2.5 hours and then rotate.
Yeah, you can get information from anybody up till the day that the tournament practice starts. Now, that's the official week of the tournament. And so you basically, you know, call a friend if you know somebody on the lake and say, what are the fish doing? You know, how can I catch them? You got any secret honey holes?
Can this guy take you out?
No. Now, you can't do that. You can't go in the water with these guys. Now, before cutoff, you could. So now we have a 30-day cutoff, so 30 days prior to that, you can go out in the water with your buddies. But other than that, that's the only time. And once that practice starts, from midnight on through all the 3 days of practice and all competition days, you can get no help from anybody anywhere except if he's in the competition himself. So he has to be another competitor.
Do you think anybody breaks that rule? Because
I think that
most people think that that rule gets broken.
I think that rule is if it's ever broken, it's very, very rarely the actual competition rule. Now, I think prior to that, people get a lot of help, and some of them get a lot more than others, and some people really like that. I find that, you know, if I have a real close friend that I trust, I may ask him, but most of the times it's better, and I think it's better for all the anglers to get out there and figure it out on their own. Come in there with a clean slate and figure everything out, because every time you do that, it makes you a better angler. So the next time out, you're a little more confident, and confidence is what we have.
Here's another little rule that's just kind of a fun rule. A lot of people wonder about the landing nets. Should we use them or should we not use them?
Well, I tell you what, you know, there's a time at Lake Murray where I had about a 7-pounder on a spinnerbait, and I got her right to the boat, and I was reaching down to lip it because we didn't have nets, and just opened her mouth, and literally my hand was going in her mouth, and she was shaking her head, and I couldn't get a grip, and the spinnerbait went flying. That's a day when I'd love to have had a landing net. And,
yeah, but Shaw, isn't that a part of the game?
It makes it exciting, so I can see that, you know, and the drama of you losing one right there, because, you know, that can be $100,000 or more, and of course now that we have the Bush Angler of the Year, it can be a lot more in the end of the year. So you look at this and say, would you like nets? Yeah, I'd love to have nets. If we don't have them, well, that's part of the game. As long as everybody's playing the same, it's still a heartbreaker to lose one of those big ones inside the boat. When you know you've done everything right, you made the right cast, you figured out the pattern, you got him hooked up, you took your time to land him, you get him up close to the boat, and then something happens like that. It's really disappointing.
We appreciate you, man. Really thank you for your time, and I'm still picking you on the Harris chain of lakes.
Oh, that's a long shot.
I'm picking him as well. Now, the tour, of course, starts in a couple of weeks. Next week, it's going to be part 2 of the International Bass Cup. It's going to be exciting. The Internationals, of course, have to go 6-0 to pull a tie with the Americans. But think about it. They got beat 6-0 this time, but the total aggregate number of fish, the poundage, only a 3-pound or less difference. So anything can happen. Join us next time right here on the Citgo Bassmaster Tournament Trail.
This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. For more, log on to ESPNOutdoors.com.
To a U.S. team that some say could never be beaten. A 6-0 sweep has left the international team with but one choice: to return the favor in today's final round. If Team U.S. wins one of the 6 matches here today, they'll take home the inaugural International Bass Cup.
The Citgo Bassmaster Tournament Trail is presented by Bush.
Have a look at the International Cup. That will be awarded today. You're watching the Citgo Bassmaster Tournament Trail. I'm Tommy Sanders along with Jerry McInnes. And, of course, the regular tournament trail begins next week right here. But what a special event we have to kind of kick off our year with. Isn't this great?
You ever see 2 classic winners fishing as a team in the same boat?
It is awesome. True international team competition like the Davis Cup in tennis, the Ryder Cup in golf. Big week last week, of course, the doubles competition. USA had a big day. They took all 6 points, but we got our singles matchups today. Let's take a look at those head-to-head matches. Okay. Mark Davis, Lionel Botha.
And Lionel, along with Eusta, missed by just a couple ounces of winning their match last week.
Jay Ellis, Jerry Eusta.
Did you know Eusta actually fished in the Classic through the Federation? Yep. He was fished in the Classic.
Kevin Van Dam, Gary Yamamoto.
Complete opposites.
Yeah.
Gary is such a slow, steady fisherman. Kevin is in a different gear.
Tim Horton, Juan Arnell.
And Tim, along with Van Dam, they had the biggest stringers in the first day fishing.
Davey Height, Sergio Longus.
Sergio is in awe of the U.S. team. I don't know, he may be intimidated.
Takahiro Omori and Denny Brown.
What a matchup there, and you know what? Denny may be the most serious angler out there. He really wants to win, and that 6-0 score that you talked about earlier, I think is a little bit misleading. You know, an ounce or 2 one way or the other, and the score could have been 4-2 just as easily. I think the USA team total weight beat the international team by just maybe 2.5 pounds. So I'll tell you what, I don't know if the international team can come back, but they don't know that.
All right, but the fact is they lost all 6 points last time, so this time they've definitely got to capture all 6 today in the head-to-head competition. Just about ready to go. Takahiro Omori, really ready to go.
Everything ready. Live is ready. My tackle is ready. Trolling motor down. We got ready to catch fish. Go.
Go. I think we are ready.
Now, just like in round one, we have 6 competitors per team, but this is singles matches. We've got one international paired up with one American. They will fish against each other all day long over 3 periods in 3 of the sectioned lakes, Luckett, Cypress, and Lake Mallard. 2 head-to-head matches per lake. That was Davey Hyde catching his first fish. Hyde is going to be going up against Sergio Longas of Spain. Denny Brower, and there you see, against Takahiro Omori here in Lake Mallard. The USA needs to win just 1 match here, of course, in round 2 in order to take the cup. There is Longas right there, and Mallard has been the most productive lake so far, Jerry.
Format just a little more complicated this go-around than it was yesterday, and I think you pegged it, though, Tommy, and yes, Mallard is the best lake of the 3, in my opinion, and the big reason for that, 1 fish for Takahiro. The big reason for that, there's so many laydowns up there. In the other lakes, there's a few laydowns, but mostly straight cypress trees. Now, laydown is a bush or a tree or a limb that is actually fallen over in the water, and it provides more cover than just a cypress tree.
Over at Luckett Lake, the 2 singles matches going on. Kevin Van Dam versus that man you just saw, Gary Yamamoto, and Tim Horton versus Juan Arnell. Now, when these 2 teams were competing as teams against each other yesterday, the Americans had a pretty easy time of it, winning their match by, well, better than 1.5 pounds. But both teams just making a beeline for that little clump of cypress trees.
Yeah, and you know, you can make your way around every one of these holes with just your trolling mode. The only reason you need to crank your big engine is when you have to move to hole 2 or move to hole 3, something like that. You can fish everything just your trolling motor on. These guys are zeroed in on that one corner in Luckett, though. And, boy, there's a good start for Kevin.
What a start for Van Dam and Horton.
I should say. In practice, this was a good spot. Kevin is taking a good look at his opponent over there.
Little gamesmanship in that.
Yeah, but yesterday, this little spot also was a great spot. So, yeah, they were very competitive about getting there in a hurry.
He ate that spinnerbait, too.
I think that was a release fish.
It didn't look like it. Skinny, too.
The 3rd hole in the rotation is Cypress Lake. The 2 singles matches going on over there right now. Current Classic champ Jay Ellis versus Jerry Eusta of Zimbabwe. Mark Davis, another former Classic champ, versus Lionel Botha of South Africa. And yesterday in the team competition, the Americans trimmed these guys by a scant 2 ounces, so they know they got their hands full today.
Yeah, and let's say one more time, there are 6 points available in today's competition, and the U.S. team just has to get one of those points, and they've got it made. And you would think they'd be very confident, but it was pretty close yesterday. I'm sure they're a little on edge.
Well, today, like yesterday, the Americans have a definite plan. Team Captain Denny Brower laid it out at the meeting last night.
One thing we might think also about is, in order to win this thing, we're going to have to win a few of these matches tomorrow. And if an angler catches a 3 or 4 pounder, say Mark catches a 4 pounder right off the bat, maybe you got to just kind of take control of the situation until you get your other 4 fish, or I guess we're going to weigh in 3 fish. Yeah. Is that correct?
2 more good bites. 9 pounds.
Right. Make sure
9 pounds
make sure you feel secure with winning your point before we worry about Jay or how it works, whatever the boat is.
Build on that.
Build on the guy that's got the kicker. Yeah. Get that first, and then worry about the other guy. So, and that should guarantee that we cannot be beat if we do it that way.
Yesterday we would have both had 10 pounds, and I think, you know, if we catch the 3 fish that we did yesterday, we'll both be in good shape, and we got a good chance to win both points. Yeah. But starting out with that good fish first thing like that, especially when they were right across from us and they got to see it too, that didn't help their confidence any, I'm sure. It helped ours tremendously.
Kevin catches the first big fish. He's in front of the boat with control, so these guys are following the plan. Jerry, do you think that's a good plan?
Boy, that's a real good plan, and controlling the boat means that you're going to get first crack at a good fish in front of the boat, and it also means you're going to control the speed of the boat, which will fit right in with whatever style fishing you're doing.
We got a lot better start than we had yesterday in here. Size-wise.
Remember, the USA only needs to win 1 match today to get the cup. USA up in 2 matches, international up in 2 others, and 2 all tied. But so much more fishing yet to go.
The Citgo Bassmaster Tournament Trail is brought to you by Citgo, by Bush, and by Skeeter.
International Bass Cup. We are fishing this thing at a place called Wildlife Farms, a hunting and fishing property in East Arkansas, Stuttgart, Arkansas, and basically, Jerry, just 3 cutoff lakes to the famous White River.
Yeah, and we're dealing with 3 oxbows, about 50 acres apiece, and our #1 teams are starting here in Mallard. The #2 teams are on Cypress. #3 teams are on Luckett. And I tell you what, I think Luckett is probably the second best of the 3, and we've already seen Van Dam catch a fish back down in that corner. That corner has been awful good both days of fishing. Cypress Lake is not quite as good. When it comes your turn to fish mallard, especially this corner up here, boy, you better get on the ball because that is the best fishing. Matter of fact, that canal going from Cypress into Mallard is really good, but so many boats running up and down, it kind of muddies it up.
Let's take a look at Mallard Lake here. Denny Brower is getting a lot of his bites early.
I don't know if those are bites, Tommy. He's trying to blow Takahiro's mind.
Is that what he's doing? He's putting on a show for the...
That Denny Brower. Hey, let me talk to you about the lures these guys are using. They're either throwing a crankbait or a spinnerbait, which will move pretty fast and cover a lot of water, or else they're flipping jigs in tubes. As a matter of fact, this boat, especially Takahiro, has been flipping jigs, boy, since the get-go yesterday morning, so he's really stuck with that. Hey, the perfect look at a laydown. Takahiro has flipped his little jig over in amongst the limbs or a tree that has fallen over in the water, and as you can see, it provides a lot of cover for the fish. Cypress, a lot of cover there too, but in the root system, the limbs are the thing in a laydown.
Man, all that moss right there around that wood. Excellent bassy spot. Bet he didn't like that. But he was right where he's supposed to be, ladies and gentlemen. We had a combination of cover right there. Some moss going around some wood. Oh, baby. You're gonna have to give me the front of the boat now, Davy. I have taken charge. Now, does he look bigger that way?
All right, Brower in charge there. We're going to take you over, meanwhile, the Cypress Lake. Again, the 2 singles matches going on over there. Yellis versus Justa, Davis versus Botha. The Americans having a slow time of it this morning. That may be the first keeper, though, for Jay Yellis.
And Jay has been throwing a spinnerbait and a crankbait a lot in the last 2 days. And of course, this is a lure that will cover a lot of ground. You fish it vertically as opposed to up and down horizontal the way you flip a little jig or you flip a tube. And this fisherman right here has been flipping a little jig for 2 days now. And you know what, Tommy? I think Lionel is maybe one of the most impressive anglers we've watched. Boy, this South African really knows his stuff. I have enjoyed watching both him and Justa. I've enjoyed watching these guys fish. They're tough anglers.
Well, they got some pretty impressive resumes, too. Justa, 3 times he's fished in the Classic, finished 15th 1 year. Also, 2-time South African champion is Lionel Botha. So these guys are really good. Of course, the resumes in this boat are pretty impressive, too. Yellis and Davis, but these guys still struggling.
They are, Tommy. But, you know, you only have to catch 3 fish apiece, so they'll do that before the day's over with.
Absolutely, they will. Over at Luckett Lake, now the laid-back style of Gary Yamamoto having a hard time keeping up with the power fishing man with Kevin Van Dam today. Yamamoto's down.
And I guess you would call Kevin a power fisherman, and you would classify Gary as a finesse fisherman. He is flipping jigs and Cincos in around the cover, and he's very steady. He's not really slow. He's just steady. If you watch, he has a lure in the water around a productive place at all times. And Gary Yamamoto and Takahiro both, they fish on the tour. They're up against Denny Brower and Kevin Van Dam day in and day out, so they are definitely not intimidated. The other guys might be a little bit, but those 2 guys do it every day. So, boy, they're ready to go.
Better than average, anyway.
Oh, yeah, hey. I guarantee you those 3 will work.
Line jump when it went in?
Oh, I think he hit it when it hit the water. He rolled up on it.
Little one?
No, it was a 2-pounder.
Oh, get him.
Right in a 2-pounder.
Yeah, he's a good, decent. That's better than the junior, though.
I just missed one right there. Which side are you on, Kevin? I'm on the left, so you go to the right.
Takahiro Omori and Lionel both are the guys who are doing it for the international team. Otherwise, it's the USA up 4-2. We'll be back with more of the International Bass Cup. Bass Cup competition continues here at Wildlife Farms near Stuttgart, Arkansas. Take a look at the scoreboard. The USA up in the singles matches right now, 4-2. They won all the doubles matches in session number 1, so they just need one singles match win today to take the cup.
And I think that we're going to find that Takahiro is the fisherman behind that tree.
And doing good behind that from the sound of it anyway.
And he's been fishing, along with several guys, a black and blue jig practically the whole event. And when it started, on the first day, they were given one small tackle box to fill and couldn't replace any of the tackles. So they've actually done a pretty good job, but Sergio is down one jig. And he's been having a little bit of trouble all day long with jigs and with fish and with everything.
Oh, my God.
Sometimes you just have to laugh. Sergio Longus looking for a reason to be optimistic at this point in his day.
And our anglers are getting close to the end of the first session, and Denny and Davey are in the canal leading into Mallard, and actually Takahiro and Longus are in the most productive area of the most productive lake.
Some persons, you have a bad day in your family, in your job, and today I have a bad day in fishing.
It's hard to keep track when the other guy's catching them like that. I know
it is
tough for you. So far, I've been able to keep with Joel up with your one, though.
Could you pull that knife out of my bag? My one. Buddy, take the back seat and hang on. You in bad trouble
now. Well, I'm glad you made up this rule that whoever's doing the best gets to keep running the front.
And you go deeper and deeper and deeper into the hole.
It's amazing how that first bite, lucky deal, goes so far with the rule you made.
God. I absolutely hadn't had enough sleep when I made that rule.
I'm so shook up I can't even cast.
Takahiro.
Good.
We have too many hours. Work out. Maybe I only caught one back like yesterday. 3 pounders. Another one. Okay. Okay, very good, Takahiro.
Yes. Yeah.
Very good.
I told my wife last night, man, I got a chance to go flipping with Danny Breyer tomorrow. If I can just catch that first one, he made up the stupidest rule you've ever heard.
Oh, yeah.
I catch one 12-incher, I get around the boat.
Yeah, I know it. But, you know, the captain can change the rules at any time. That's kind of a neat deal.
Now it begins.
So, you don't want to pick on him too much.
Oh, yes, Sergio.
Okay.
See? Good. Good fish, Sergio. Yeah.
That was what Sergio Longus needed, something in the final minutes of this first section to happen for him there. USA, though, still up 4-2 over the Internationals. We're going to take you right now over to Luckett Lake. Kevin Van Dam, Tim Horton. Van Dam taking control early in the day, and he's staying in the front of that boat.
And you know what? Beating Gary to the tail end of Luckett was a big plus for him. Caught that good fish, really got cranked up right off the bat. And that gave him a good lead. He does have control of the boat, and in this case, I think that's real important because he is a fast fisherman. He's throwing that spinner bait, and I tell you what, he beats Gary Yamamoto, Tommy, and game over.
Good job.
Who won?
Yeah.
Huh? 7:15, 7:15, 8:15, 9:15, 9:30.
All right, just a couple of minutes to go. Again, in this first period, all these matches will change to different lakes when we make that switch over. Two heavy hitters who are having a hard time, Yellis and Davis.
And they are fishing in the lake that is the least productive, but their opponent is as well, so it's always very equal.
Good, good, good.
Davis down to Botha, Yellis down to Eustace at this point.
That shotgun's gonna blast here any second.
Yeah. That's good. I think he likes shooting that thing.
Yeah, it's a little bit slower. Well, Kevin's looking good. I'm going to let him run the shoulder so we can get a guaranteed point here.
Absolutely. That's the trump card we need to make sure we get. Mark and Jay said that they had most of their bites on square bills at the end you're going to come to in hole 2, where those big cypress are kind of out in the middle there.
Okay.
It was very tough compared to yesterday in the practice. I think we get too much fishing pressure. So we got less bite this morning and more small fish. We don't catch any bigger fish this morning, so we try best we can.
When we return, our anglers will be in their places to begin period number 2 of this competition. The Americans still leading 4-2. Remember, they just need one win to take the cup. Our International Bass Cup competition continues. Take a look at the scoreboard. The USA up 4-2 over the Internationals. This is singles competition today. The USA swept the doubles competition. They just need to win one singles match, and they get the Bass Cup. Now, we got some good split matches going on in Mallard Lake right now. Omori leads Brower in one. Davey Height leads Sergio Longus in the other one.
And Omori is one of the best stories in bass fishing, I think, because he's been in our country now 8 or 9 years, and when he first got here, he couldn't even pronounce the word crankbait, and now he has switched to one to produce a fish, and he is poised to become a superstar. Big prediction there, Tommy. I'm telling you. I know he didn't even make the Classic last year, but his father passed away, and he had to go back to Japan, so he missed a couple events. He will be there this year.
Again, we're in Mallard Lake. Denny Brower and Davey Height fishing there. Earlier in Mallard Lake, the first period, remember what happened when Horton and Van Dam got in there? They got themselves off to a great start. That was Van Dam's first fish. Very impressive. Of course, Horton, Van Dam, Mark Davis, they're all in this competition based on their Bush Angler of the Year points. They got more of them than anybody else over the past couple of years. Denny Brower is in this thing for another reason. Over the length of his career, Denny Brower, the all-time leading money winner.
You can bet from what we're hearing, this championship is going to be a barn burner.
Denny Brower won the Bassmasters Classic in 1998. He was also the winner of the 1987 Angler of the Year title. But again, he was chosen for the Cup and the captain's job based on his superlative performance throughout his career.
And almost a half hour into our second hole here, we're starting to get a little frustrated, wondering if we were ever going to get a good bite. And that puts us back in pretty good shape now.
Oh, keeper Sergio.
Another one of those for Sergio Longus. You can only imagine what's going on in his mind right now, but you can imagine it's not very good yet. If he only knew he was just a half a pound behind Davey Height at this point in the competition. Height's got 3.5 pounds.
Oh, what's wrong? He's 3 keepers today.
Okay, meanwhile, over at Mallard Lake in the second period here, the two singles matches going on. Jay Yellis leads Jerry Eustace by half a pound. Mark Davis, though, down 1.5 pounds to Lionel Botha.
Well, some of these guys are down to their short sleeve shirts, but a lot of them still have their jackets on. It's cool up to 11 or 12 o'clock. Matter of fact, the evenings and the nights were real cool, so the water surface is a little cooler. The more the sun hits that water, the better the fishing is. It seemed like both days the fishing was better after, say, 11 o'clock than it was early. And Tommy, I love this watercolor right here, and it's very conducive to catching fish all day long. You're just as liable to catch that fish you need at 12:30 as you are at 7:30 in the morning.
Well, two of the best in the business, undeniably. Jay Ellis, Mark Davis having an uncharacteristic amount of trouble here with everything that they're doing. Our leaderboard, meanwhile, is constantly changing. That fish from Houston now puts him in the lead over Jay Ellis. It's 3-3 split between the U.S. and the internationals now. Now over to Cypress Lake. Gary Yamamoto, Juan Arnold having a very similar success pattern to Omori and Longus. Yamamoto, like you predicted, Jerry, slow, steady. He's like the tortoise. He's about to win the race here.
Thank you. And I'm still kind of on the water temperature right here, but that water is warming up to the fact where these fish are really becoming very active. And when that happens, you know, there's no real wrong lure to be throwing out there. You ought to fish with the lure that you have the most confidence in and you know, really fish to your strengths now, because you're probably going to catch fish in 2 or 3 different ways. These guys are flipping. Jay Ellis and Mark Davis are throwing that square bill, as they said a little bit ago, which is a crankbait, and these guys are doing something here. Tommy, I don't know if you've picked up on this or not, but they've taken their boat and pushed back in those bushes and those laydowns that we talked about earlier in the show. And it seems like they're just letting the boat hang in one spot.
They're not running down the bank.
No,
not like
they're
these
not.
other anglers.
They just aren't. They're just hanging there and fishing completely around the boat.
We're sanding the water. And there's no bass.
I had it back. He's still there. He's on there. Yeah, look here.
Hey, he's shaking a bush. Let's go get it.
But we don't doubt that Mark Davis can land this fish. Mark Davis, the only angler ever to win the Bassmasters Classic and the Angler of the Year title in the same year. In fact, he's won Angler of the Year, that title 3 times. He's been one of the top 3 points getters over the past 2 years on the tour.
I got him.
There's a keeper.
He's a keeper.
There you go.
Thank you.
I get the assist for that.
A little bit of a tough one to get in the boat. Maybe that'll brighten Mark Davis's outlook, but what wouldn't brighten his outlook is to see what the opponents are doing over here on the other side. These guys from Africa are having a great day.
You know what? They are loaded with confidence. They are, first of all, sitting right in the honey hole, probably in the whole event. This is the best place to be, and they have got all the whirl of confidence that every time they flip that little jig in there, something's going to smack it. As a matter of fact, that one smacked it, missed it, and he hooked him in the side. So they can do nothing wrong. And it's kind of unusual, Tommy, because if you remember,
yeah, I think so.
On that first day, they were talking about what they're used to fishing, and it is nothing, absolutely nothing compared to what they're doing. That's what a good bass fisherman does, though. He picks up on it, gets a lot of confidence, and just takes off.
All right, maybe these guys are getting over their jet lag as well. 20 hours from South Africa over here. Let's take a look at the leaderboard right now, and wow, Gary Yamamoto really making a run at Kevin Van Dam. Van Dam holding on to the lead. Horton barely holding on to his lead. Height's in the same boat, but otherwise we're still split 3-3. Very close.
Kevin, I got you. Wow. Go ahead and keep fishing.
The Citgo Bassmaster Tournament Trail is brought to you by Chevy Trucks, by Mercury, and by Triton.
Well, our International Bass Cup competition continues here. Wildlife Farm, Stuttgart, Arkansas. Some close competition in this day of singles matches. 3-3, the U.S. versus the internationals. But these matches are getting very, very tight, the ones where the U.S. leads. Van Dam almost being caught by Gary Yamamoto. He's going to have to get something going. Horton and Height very tight as well. Omori keeping his lead over Denny Brower. His partner Sergio Longus fishing in the boat with him, still not doing so well.
Sergio, slow down.
Oh, today's not my day.
Sergio, calm down. Slow down.
I have a very bad day, or maybe I counted it once.
A down day for Longus. Meanwhile, over at Luckett Lake, we see Brower and Hite fishing in the same piece of water we saw Horton and Van Dam on earlier.
They're in, back into that corner just like Kevin Van Dam was, only Denny's dropping a jig by every single tree. Kevin, on the other hand, was throwing a spinnerbait trying to cover lots of water. Denny's going one fish at a time just about.
Yeah. Absolutely had to be one there.
Well, there's the shotgun. That means the end of the second period and the beginning of the last chance for these teams to exchange information as they wind them in, head down the trails to their final spot for the last round of this competition.
Now make sure you hit them deep trees too, and particularly we had several bites on the very ends of those laydowns. Out on the very ends of them, seemed like fish were 4 or 5 foot deep even, so y'all give out a look also.
We just had a really good flurry of fish. It was tough. It was really tough until the last 20 minutes. We caught five keepers.
How did Kevin catch the big ones? Is that how he caught those bigger ones?
One good one on a tube, and he caught his biggest fish on that log back there by the beaver dam on the spinnerbait this morning. And we lost several fish back in that area.
If you go through here and turn left, you'll see a brush pile and it's got a big rag. Dirty old white rag. Probably that size, that long. Quite high up in the tree, probably 8 foot up in the tree. Okay, but it's not 50 yards, 60 yards. Yeah, as you come out of this cut, it's probably 60 yards. Okay? We also caught a good fish there, about a 3.5 pounder, first thing as we came in. And then it really got tough. And eventually we made our way back there. And just around that one bush where that rag is.
Where's the beaver dam at? I've forgotten where that's at.
At the very back on the left, and right past it right there is that big log. Just 5 foot past it, goes all the way from there to that cypress point.
There's a little beaver hut. Yeah, I remember now. It's a small beaver hut there going into that pocket. Okay. We'll...
Time is passing quickly for our players in the International Bass Cup. Now, you'll remember our international team needs to get all 6 points today in the singles competition just to force a tie. That's not the way it's shaping up exactly right now, though. Let's take a look at our African teams, though. Both used to doing really, really well, commanding leads in their matches. Not so well for Takahiro Omori, Sergio Longus. They're trailing pretty well. Our big swing matches just moving into Mallard Lake. That's where it's at.
Mallard Lake. I told you Mallard Lake.
You did. You said so.
It was going to be big. Well, here we are on Mallard Lake, and Van Dam and Horton against Yamamoto and Arnell. They are in the last segment there. And backing up just a little bit, boy, Botha and Justa got well back here in the corner of Mallard. That's really the honey hole, but you know what? They pushed way back in the bushes. Could hardly get their trolling motor to run. They were in such shallow water. They caught 6 or 8 bass there, though. Now, they passed that information on to Gary Yamamoto as they were passing into the next section. So Gary really needs to do that very same thing. Van Dam and Horton, on the other hand, are going to fish the other end of Mallard. And you know what? That hasn't been very productive, other than the fact that in practice there were a few good bites there. So maybe one of them can pick up a big fish.
Well, there's Arnold and Yamamoto. Yamamoto with the fish there in the area where we saw the Africans before, but a little different technique.
Yeah, and I'm not saying it's the wrong technique because he has just put a fish in the boat. But if you look at his boat, you can see that he is moving, where Justa and Botha were lodged into that brush and just fishing in one area.
Meanwhile, on Luckett Lake, that's where we find the hottest anglers in this competition. Justa, Botha, still on fire.
And you know what? When you move to a new lake, your style can change. They're out of the laydowns. They're out of that brush. They're back into the cypress trees, and they're throwing a crankbait right here.
Okay, Sergio still having trouble all day long. He has struggled with his equipment, with every aspect of his fishing. Takahiro, though, has been steady, and he's kept his head on his shoulders, luckily.
Don't kill me, Sergio.
Yeah.
Wait until the fish eat it.
Sorry.
All right, Takahiro offering the advice, trying to help Sergio out. Meanwhile, similar situation on Mallard, Juan Arnell and Gary Yamamoto.
Well, the Spanish anglers have the least amount of experience fishing at this level, and I guess it's really starting to show up a little bit.
Why are you throwing behind? I tried to tell you.
Yeah,
you don't listen.
Yeah. You know, my heart.
You will learn.
I don't know if I'm gonna catch a 5-pounder, but yeah, I'm sure I will learn something.
Oh, you learn.
You know, I think we're gonna change the nickname.
What?
I'm gonna check on the rule on that. I'm gonna change the nickname. And I think we're gonna make it Grasshopper.
Grasshopper? Grasshopper, I like it. I like it, Grasshopper. Grasshopper, boom, boom, and
Oh, you learn.
2 leads for the Americans, 2 leads for the International, and 2 ties. How about that? Things very tight here with more fishing to come in the International Bass Cup. There's the leaderboard in our International Bass Cup competition. Some tight races going on. 2-2 basically between the Americans and the Internationals. One of the stars of the Bassmaster Tour is joining us a little bit later, Mike Iaconelli. Right now we're going to see if Jerry McInnes can get a word in with Juan Arnau and Gary Yamamoto.
That's my plan anyways.
Well, Juan, this whole thing's got to be pretty impressive. And in fact, it just has to be like a dream come true for you.
Oh yeah, Jerry, I feel like the luckiest guy in the world. This is just a dream for any European fisherman to be here with all those great fishermen. You know, in fact, the best in the world. So I feel it's very exciting for me, and I feel just so happy.
And I know you have a lot of fishing friends back home. It's got to be very special for you here representing Spain.
Oh yeah, you know, I just hope to do it again and make, you know, or my country proud of me. You know, I feel really proud to be here, and you know, my friends are also very proud, and you know, it's just amazing, you know. And also this place, it looks really different than Spain, and all this jungle and these trees are just so. Oh, I got one.
All right, now let's get him in the boat.
Okay, just a small one.
Just a small one?
Yeah.
Now, Gary, we've been watching Kevin Van Dam fish, and now we're watching you fish, and you are definitely fishing a lot slower than he does.
Well, it might be. It might seem like it, but I'm using a 8-inch grub like Kevin uses a crankbait. And the only difference is I can vary my depth as I'm going along. And I'm still targeting specific areas. So I don't know. I think in a given day, I might not cover as much as Kevin, but we're covering quite a bit of water.
Well, Gary, do you think that that those faster moving guys are missing some fish?
Well, I sure hope so, because I'm behind them and I'm catching a few fish, so they must be leaving a few for me.
Okay, guys, thanks for your time. It's really great having you with us.
Oh, thank you.
Well, we're enjoying ourselves. You have to be in a studio, and I'm fishing.
Well, Gary's got a good point there. Meanwhile, over at Cypress Lake, Sergio Longas, what a terrible day he's had, just trying to do something to make himself feel better.
Oh, yeah. It's good.
All right, Sergio.
I'm happy. Oh, Steve, for you.
Good job, Sergio.
It's small, but it's a keeper.
Yeah. Oh. You caught that fish right after Danny Brower fished it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's worth 10 times more.
Okay.
Okay, Sergio's in better shape. Juan Arnau, his fellow Spaniard, over there trying to get something going as well and just not being able to capitalize on the opportunities.
Boy, and here's something for every competitive bass fisherman on any level, and that is to not give up. I don't care. These guys, you know, they're in the second day. They're probably very tired, but this could be the most important 15 minutes of the 2-day event, and you just can't let down.
There's a big fish.
I need that one, Kevin.
Well, Kevin Van Dam's laughing. Tim's pretty happy himself, and that fish
Take your time and
makes
call
the
him right.
USA pretty hard to beat.
That's the end of the game.
Well, that's it. What do you think? Give it up.
I think we'll be in good shape.
I think we did everything we could do.
We feel better today than we did yesterday. We'll see. We'll see.
The international team came in needing to take all 6 matches, and the first 3 weighed in went their way. Lionel Bolka with 7 pounds 9 ounces over Mark Davis with 6'12". Jerry Eustace 7'5" to take it from the classic champ Jay Ellis at 4'10". And Gary Yamamoto weighing in 6 pounds 14 ounces, less than half a pound, in his victory over Kevin Van Dam.
You disappointed yesterday knowing that the U.S. team had taken all available points?
Yeah, we were very disappointed. I mean, even if we had got maybe just 2 points out of it, we would have been happier and maybe given them a better fight, but you never know.
The weight you need.
Well, it wasn't until Tim Horton came to the stand to weigh in his 3 fish,
and that
finishing with the big one he caught in the last period, that the U.S. team could claim the International Bass Cup.
That'll do it. What a fish.
This has been an awesome week. I mean, we came in here as friends, and we're leaving as better friends. And you look around at a lot of sports, and you take the top individuals in those sports. I don't think there's too many sports where they all get along like we do, and that says quite a bit. We're competitors, but yet we're good friends.
How about them? Team USA, they were unstoppable in this first International Bass Cup. They split with the Internationals, get the 9-3 victory. A couple of things, of course, stand out. Earlier on Luck at Lake, Denny Brower's very strong showing. Tim Horton's 4-pounder, that was huge. And look at this, the squeaker by Davey Height over a somewhat disheartened Sergio Longas. All combined for the great USA victory. Some good stuff there. Well, as promised, our special guest has arrived. We won't refer to him as one of the rising stars of bass fishing anymore. He's established now, especially when you consider the big tour win on Seminole this past season. Mike Iaconelli, great to have you with us.
Thanks, Tom. Appreciate
yes, sir.
it. Already qualified for this year's Classic. That's not fair. Hey, we got to talk to you about that a little bit later on, but for right now, you're such an outspoken young man. I would like for you to jump on this one. How does Jay Ellis, Kevin Van Dam, and Mark Davis get beat in this event?
Well, I mean, that sounds kind of bad, but really they didn't get beat. I mean, what happened is the competitors really figured out the fish better that day. And in a competition like this, you know, it comes down to 2 things that happen there, and that's why you see that big discrepancy. One was the mindset. You know, I can really relate to that because coming up through the Federation, you know, I kind of had that same thing where the first year I made the Classic, I made it through the Federation. And here's me who fished club tournaments my whole life, fishing against Kevin and Mark and all my heroes. And the main thing with these guys, it wasn't the fishing, it was the mindset. They weren't fishing against Kevin. They weren't fishing against Mark. They were fishing against the bass. And that's the reason they succeeded. That's the reason they beat those guys. So their mindset was, what are the fish doing? What are the patterns? How can we catch the fish? Not how can we beat those guys? Mm-hmm. So that was really the first thing that came into play. And then the second thing, I think, is because of their background, of their environment. You have guys from Japan, guys from Spain, guys from South Africa who fish smaller bodies of water. They're used to those tough conditions. They're used to adversity. And it really showed. It shone through in this event.
Tommy, we got to spend more time with this guy.
We are going to. When we come back, we'll spend a lot more time with Mike Iaconelli. Also, the open divisions have already wrapped up their seasons. We'll find out who, besides Mike, has made it to the Classic when we return.
ESPN's Bass Link is brought to you by Citgo. The Citgo Bassmaster Tournament Trail is brought to you by Yamaha, by Citgo, and by Bush.
Welcome back to the Citgo Bassmaster Tournament Trail. You know, through the fall, the open divisions have been completing their seasons. The Northern, Southern, Eastern all wrapped up their competitions. Let's take a look at those final point standings. In the Southern, there, Jason Quinn with the 3rd place at Lake Martin winds up on top. He's followed by Wesley Strader. Strader was 3rd at Pickwick in Alabama. Kobe Krieger finished him off in the Northern Division, including a win at the St. Lawrence. And look at our guest, Mike Iaconelli, never out of the top 25. He's going to the Classic. Greg Hackney ran roughshod over the Central Division, never out of the top 10. That is super strong. Homer Humphreys also going to the Classic with his 2nd open win in as many seasons. How about our guest here, man? That is some good, strong stuff.
Well, you know, Mike, I'm really proud of you, but I just have to say, do you think that's good that many guys made it out of the opens into the Classic? Honest answer.
I do. I think it's good. I mean, I think what the whole focus of the Opens is to attract new blood into the sport. And when you put up the prize of a classic invitation, that gives you the drive to fish. So as an avenue, it's going to be the future of our sport. It's going to give guys the chance to step up to the next level. So in that respect, it is fair. When you see all guys from the tour making the classic, that's where you're seeing some guys grumble. So, but in general, I think it's fair. I think it's a great tournament circuit. Gives me a chance to make the classic by the fall. Awesome.
Hey, one time you said it was easy to make. This is what you're known for, is that statement. Well, it's easy to make the classic. What did you say that 5 or 6 years ago?
Yeah, going back on that statement, in retrospect, it was a very immature thing to say. I mean, you got to remember the history behind that. I had come up through the Federation, made the classic through the Federation. The next year, my first top 150 or first tour season, I qualified for it. So I kind of had a false image of, how easy the sport was. And I know that it's not easy now. But I think the main thing is people confuse that statement with cockiness when it's really confidence. And you got to be confident in the sport. And I'm a very confident individual. So I try to carry that confidence in every tournament, and everything I do, I try to carry that confidence. So that was really about confidence.
Okay, your energy, and I can see it right now. Your energy is, it helps your power fishing. And by power fishing, we're talking about moving and throwing and cranking and just getting right after it. Does that hurt you if something dictates some finesse fishing?
It doesn't hurt me. I mean, I came up with a formula, and it was basically going way back again in my Federation days. I tried to study the top fishermen, and they all had the same base formula, and it was a strength plus versatility equals consistency equals classic finishes. So I kind of grew up with that formula, and I use that, of course, when I have the opportunity to use my strength, which is power fishing, moving 1,000 miles an hour. That's what I try to do. But I also realize that there are times to finesse, there are times to fish deep water, and I use that as my consistency factor. So I think if you can develop the right strategy to when to use your strength and when to fall back on your secondary finesse patterns, you can do good. You can be very consistent, and you'll make your classic championship events.
If you could change the rules, in your dream you get to be Trip Weldon and change a rule, what would it be?
One rule that I could change would be get rid of the nets. Get rid of the nets. Get rid of the net. Get the excitement back in the sport. To me, not using nets, that's really another part of fishing. That's a part of the excitement. That's a part of the skill of landing a fish. So I would get rid of the nets. I'm real agile, a real person who likes to move around the boat and fight the fish. To me, that would be in my benefit. It would help me. I think it would help the sport in general. Get rid of the nets. Okay,
Mike, you have made the classic, so why don't you just mess around and win the thing and get it over with?
Well, you talking about the classic? That's something, I get that question a lot, and you have to set goals for yourself. And definitely one of the goals of my career is Angler of the Year, Bush Angler of the Year, and the other goal was a classic win. And again, not being cocky, but being confident, that's something I feel like I will accomplish in my career. So I'd like to get it over this coming year, but sooner or later, I think that's something I can win.
Tommy, I hope we get to see this guy a lot this next year, and you need to get rid of your landing net.
All right, I'm good. They're gone. They're out of here. You put the pressure on him. He's going to win the Classic. Mike Iaconelli, thank you so much for joining us here today. Mike Iaconelli, all the other pros are going to start making history when the 2003 Bassmaster Tour kicks off. You'll see the coverage next week right here on the Citgo Bassmaster Tournament Trail. Thanks for joining us.
This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. For more, log on to ESPNOutdoors.com.